Are we talking podcast? Are we podcasting?
Yeah, we can start now. You guys ready? Let's go.
Let's start it.
Welcome, everybody, this week to the Damage Per Second podcast. I'm your host, Justin /JayborinoPlays. I'm joined with my co-hosts with the co-most, Brett and Keith.
I'm Brett.
It's me, Creecrow.
Hi, Creecrow. We were just talking about Fortnite. I didn't want to interrupt the discussion, so you guys were just talking about Fortnite. Let's just talk about Fortnite. How about it? Tell us about Fortnite.
Okay, first you're going to have to explain to me what that is.
Fortnite is a free-for-all
2 weeks or
battle royale action shooter, but you build. It's actually really cool. It's the same idea as PUBG essentially. Well, that's the mode that's popular. There is a PvE mode, but I don't even know what you do in it, to be honest with you. But you can build ramps, you build walls, you build platforms, and you build pyramids. And so basically you just collect 3 different types of materials, and you just kind of build forts if you need to. You don't have to, but it's pretty wild. Like the fort aspect.
Got it. Fortnite.
Yeah.
Oh, is that
Fortnite.
actually the meaning of the name?
Like building forts?
Yeah.
Probably.
Is that the intention of the title?
Probably, yeah. I'd say so. It just kind of adds a whole different layer, and you can tell that the focus is a little bit off of the... I don't want to say it's off the gunplay, but it's just like a cool layer added that makes the gunplay sort of like simplistic in a way. In a way that PUBG is not like that. You know, I have a ton of trouble with that game, but the arcadey kind of feel to Fortnite makes it really easy to get into for someone who sucks at shooters like me. And I'm enjoying it. I don't know. I've never really been one for these battle royale things. I think I've ranted about it on here before. But I gave it a fair squeeze and I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
Tell me how to use the well, okay, so first of all, is this completely free to play now? Because previously it was just battle royale, but now it kind of seems like PvE is free to play.
I'm not sure about the PvE, but I haven't paid for anything and I'm playing it.
What is the PvE mode?
It's like you and 3 other people and you build forts, and I think it's like wave-based, like zombies come, and I think that was the original intention of the game. I think this is by Epic Games, right? So like Cliff Bleszinski from, he's Years of War or whatever, renown, was working on this for a long time, I think, and I think it like transformed a ton, so it's like really interesting to see it end up here. And it's, it was like in development for a really long time, and it seems like it's pivoted a lot to this sort of model where, I mean, like most people I think are playing Battle Royale, but they still got this PvE mode that clearly they put a lot of work into.
Yeah, I mean, the Battle Royale formula right now is hard to get away from. It's like everywhere.
So you said that this guy is renowned. How do you get renowned? Do you have to be nowned first?
Yeah, and then you have to be nowned, and then when someone does it to you one more time, then you're renowned.
Obviously. That's cool. I guess so. From my perspective, I'm going to ask like a kind of impossible question, but basically, I don't really play many competitive games anymore. But you're saying that this is like a way better than. I mean, Brett, you're enjoying it, and you kind of had the same conversation with me in the past. How you're like not as into competitive games as much as you used to be. So I guess convince someone like me to pick it up and play it.
Well, like, part of it for me is that even placing better than you did the last round feels kind of like a victory. And, like, winning as one person out of 100 people isn't something you really expect every single round either. Like, it's certainly frustrating to just, like, rinse and repeat dying five minutes into your match, or 1 minute in and the first 10 seconds in. It's like doing that over and over is really tedious, but when you're playing as a team, it's a lot easier to get into and not get super frustrated with, especially, I don't know, maybe I'm just like in the honeymoon phase, as that does happen with most games, but I don't know, winning just isn't to be expected mostly because there's just so many people. So I don't know. I guess
you have like a 1 in 100 chance of winning.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's less about getting the top spot. That does make a difference, I suppose.
Yeah, for me at least. I don't know. I'm like, oh, I came in 7th. That wasn't bad at all. you know. But who knows? Maybe I'll get my first win and then never want anything less.
Well, I assume as so. I don't know. I haven't even played PUBG. So if you lose early, do you have the option to continue to spectate, or do you could just go straight to the next game, or can you do either or?
You can spectate, but you can also just go right to the next match.
Okay.
You can return right to the lobby. It's pretty quick turnover, and honestly, because there's so many people playing them, like it doesn't take long to get into a full match again at all. I mean, maybe 30 seconds or something. They've really nailed the matchmaking with this game at least.
Cool.
I like that you get. Okay, so I'll just say like I'm playing it for the first time in a long time right now, and you know it's not going to be a stream of consciousness of me playing this, but I'm just fucking around trying to like learn the controls and everything. So I'll say like the first time I dropped in really quick. Number one, I like over PUBG, and they may have changed things since I played it, but I like that you spawn as a random person every time. I'm not just like a generic, like the same guy every single time, and I don't have anything because I didn't spend any money on loot boxes. Like you look a little different every time, somewhat randomized. And then also I dropped in and like landed where someone else landed and tried to kill him, and he picked up a gun and then killed me and then dabbed immediately. So that's my initial experience with it.
Nice. That's not too far from what I've been experiencing.
Ooh, these kids in there dabbing.
I think just as with any game, you just kind of get a feel for what you should and shouldn't be doing. You're like, oh, well, I just ran into this open field and all these people on top of these buildings just shot at me all at once. It's like, okay, maybe I won't do that again. You know,
that's
like
how I like the quick
and...
feedback loop, like the quick turnaround time. Like if you lose, then, you know.
Yeah, and something that was really cool is like, you have two different inventories. You've got your crafting inventory, and then, well, I don't know if you'd call it an inventory, but whatever, I'll call it that. And your gun inventory, and so you just press Q to quickly switch between the two. And then you can scroll wheel to the different buildings that you want to build. And so, for instance, you can build these stairs like instantly, and you can be running on them as you're building them up further and further into the sky.
Ah, okay.
So it like kind of adds a really neat like platforming aspect to it in a way. Or just like, I don't know, ease of traversal, I guess.
Yeah.
It's really cool. It's like unique and not what I expected from the game either. Like, I was expecting people building a bunch of houses or whatever, but no, it's really not about that. It's kind of just like using the building to your advantage, at least in the Battle Royale mode. I don't know if that's the intended purpose, but that's what's happened, and it's kind of fun. So
do you feel that they were purposely trying to usurp PUBG? Because we talked about PUBG in the past and how they kind of like stumbled into success, and it's a fairly ripe market for someone to swoop in and do something mildly better. Do you think it's able to take that place, or is it more about the building?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it exists on its own as its own thing pretty well. Like, I think people looking for a more diehard shooting experience are probably going to go to PUBG, and those who are looking for maybe something a little more lighthearted are going to go to Fortnite. Like, I feel like they kind of serve different purposes, in my opinion. I don't know. I might be totally wrong though.
What's your opinion, Keith?
Well, it's definitely more lighthearted, and I haven't played Fortnite enough to say it necessarily, but like, I think that it could ultimately end up being like the hardcore thing that people are looking for, just because it's done better. And I mean, that was the thing. Like, you know, PUBG had gameplay elements, right, and it definitely was like something that people could naturally. You know, another company could naturally jump into, and it was what PUBG did as well. You know, like it started off in like H1Z1 or something, and then before that, it was like a concept in movies and things like that. So, I think that it could definitely usurp it. I mean, it's definitely been growing really fast. So we'll see. Brett, what would you say, like, when do you want to build and when do you want to not? Because that's, like, one thing, when I played before, it's one thing I couldn't get the hang of. It's, like, figuring out, okay, when do I want to build?
Just never want to, like, spend time building. In my tracks of, like, early matchmaking that I've been doing, it seems like people kind of, like, reactionarily build or, like, build to get to different places. It's never, like, you're just building to, like, be in a place. You might consider, like, taking a shelter that's already there and then maybe building upon it or something, you know, maybe like making a watchtower style thing. But then you run the risk of people shooting down your whole place. Like, you can just shoot at the wooden things that you build, and people will just. I've killed someone by shooting out the platform from underneath them, and they just fell to their death. I had no idea I even did it. And I just like I saw that someone fell to their death, and I put it together. I was like, oh wait, I killed him, didn't I? So yeah, it seems mostly reactionary though, from what I've seen.
I quite like how I also like the look of the game. It has almost like maybe a TF2 type goofy look to it.
Yeah, it's got a great look.
There's PUBG, I think,
feels like
tries to be a little more serious. I don't know.
Yeah. It do. That's what I've been playing a lot of. That and Rainbow Six Siege. A little bit of that. Which is another fun one. I think I've talked about that on the podcast before.
Excuse me, not much. I don't think you have. I know that's an interesting game because didn't they have like the community? It's not a new game, but it's not a super old game either. But they like the community kind of kept the game propped up, and then they made a big patch or something like this happened where they made like a big patch in response to a bunch of community suggestions, and the game basically was like completely revamped. And then they added DLC and said like new players won't have to pay for this, but old players will, or something like that. And then they undid it. Again, I'm probably simplifying this, but
all I really know is that the base operators that are in the game, which used to require currency to unlock, are not going to require currency to unlock anymore. They'll just be unlocked, which is a pretty big deal. Because all the DLC characters that they've added post-launch, they're pretty easily attainable with the amount of currency that they give you over the course of just playing the game. And there's a bunch of different situations, they're called, and they're just basically tutorial missions, but like real missions. There's not really a single player in the game, but there's these situations, and those will give you a ton of currency if you get 3 stars on them or whatever. You have to get like top rating by completing different goals, getting a certain number of headshots or not being detected, etc. And so you can unlock a ton of the DLC characters with that currency as well. So really, I think I bought one season pass, which accelerates your currency accrual. So, I don't know. It seems like a pretty fair game. Like, there's never been a time where I'm like, damn, I wish I could use this character. I think I like almost have all the characters. So, It's pretty neat. Every different character is kind of like a hero in Dota. They have their individual abilities, which will usually help tactical advantages.
It's like RPG squad based, basically.
Yeah, it's really cool. It's like super awesome. There's different choices for, you can choose to get something that will breach a wall, or you can get smoke grenades, and like if you have the thermal goggles, you might want to get the smoke grenades, but if you have the whatever, you might want to get the breach. It's pretty strategic in a way that kind of unfurls as you keep playing. It's really, really interesting. It's awesome.
Cool.
And all the maps are really different too, and I think I was saying in your Discord, like that's kind of one of the hardest things for me, at least, is because map knowledge is immensely important. You have to know sort of like, the whole layout of the maps is kind of important just to the whole progression of the match anyways, so it's really cool. I'm liking it. I feel like every time I boot that game up, I like it more and more as well. So
I did see you in the Discord talking about the map knowledge, and this is something that exists with a lot of games with like an overworld type thing. I would argue like PUBG's similar. I don't know how it depends on how randomly generated stuff is. So I guess one thing I struggle with, and Keith, you kind of mentioned this too, which is just you have to. There's like a moment when you get a light bulb. And until that moment, you get kind of like, am I doing the right thing? How risky can I get? How much can I be aggressive, or how much do I have to sit back? And as you're learning that, that's kind of that crucial time when you're like, do I like this game or not?
I feel like I'm still learning that, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Okay.
Like I had one round where I took the whole enemy team by surprise and went through this window that they didn't see, and I shot every single one of them in the head. All 5 of them, and I won the round, and it was like the best feeling I've ever had.
It's so good.
That's cool.
Wow. So, I don't know. It just elicits a lot of good feelings. I love feeling like stressed out when I'm playing a game, just from pure, I don't know, purely from the match itself and not like just the need to win or like whatever. It just feels good to play.
Yeah.
It's exhilarating.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like back playing Dota 2. I think back, because I don't play any game like that anymore, and I look back to when I did, and I thought, so much of it was like, you start a match, you see who's getting picked, and like you instantly have that knowledge, like, oh, this match, they're countering us really well, we're countering them really well. Even like Heroes of the Storm, I have no idea what 90% of the heroes even do. So that kind of turns me off from revisiting the game. It's like there's so much content that I have no idea how to play against certain heroes. And I guess when you're starting, it doesn't really matter, but that also kind of puts me off to a lot of these really large multiplayer online games. I just think like, oh my god, there's so much stuff and I don't know what any of it does.
Yeah. I definitely get that from Rainbow Six too. Like, there's still so much to learn. I don't know what every character does yet, or what everything means either, to be fair. Like, there's certain characters that have abilities I have no idea what the purpose even is, and like there's a lot of stuff too where you're not even gonna see it at like low level play. You get somebody who can like detect cameras in the corners, and it's like, all right, well, nobody even fucking uses cameras at this level, so why would I use that character? It's like, it's kind of, like I said, it just kind of like slowly, probably as you get like higher in the meta and whatever, it probably just gets more and more complex and interesting. It's just like kind of crazy that Ubisoft has done this 180, to me at least.
For certain games.
There's that, and there's apparently the new Assassin's Creed's pretty good. Origins, I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, me neither.
I can tell you all about it.
For Honor, they're like putting dedicated servers in and answering all these.
I was gonna bring up For Honor.
And stuff, and like,
Keith, do you want to tell us about Assassin's Creed?
Assassin's Creed? Yeah, so we've been playing that a bit, and I mean, we're not doing any sort of like online play or anything like that. But in fact, I don't know anything about like, what sort of like online or competitive modes they have. But you see it trickle into the single player and stuff. They'll have like, avenge this person. These guards killed them. You gotta save them. Like, get revenge. But in general, I mean, it's similar to other Assassin's Creed games. Obviously, the setting's pretty different. We like the setting a lot. Egypt. I think that's like the part we like the most about it. But there's a lot of stuff that you see that's similar. The Falcon stuff is pretty cool. Like, you send him up and you can scout areas and mark targets and things like that. But we're just sort of going through it at the moment and drawing similarities to other Assassin's Creed games. But I think that's going to be the major factor to decide like whether you want it or not. It's like, has it been long enough since you played an Assassin's Creed game that you're ready for another one? But we like the story. I always like the historical stuff a lot more than like the modern stuff. Every time they go back and they're like, it just feels like they're reminding you, like, just for people who don't know, it's like, you're in some weird VR, you're in modern world in some VR unit putting you into the shoes of like someone from ancient Egypt or something like that. And I don't know if that's just a way for them to like let yourself off the hook for murdering a bunch of people, but
it's not real.
I always wish they'd just be like, okay, no, this whole game is just in Egypt, okay? Because every time I'm like, I don't want to hear about this person. It's just like a way to say, hey, everything you're doing right now doesn't matter.
Yep.
Because it's fake or something.
Well, they would try to have like an overstory, right? It all had to do with the I don't know. I feel like that whole section could have been scrapped, but I think a lot of people saw it as like the intrigue of the story. What's going to happen in Assassin's Creed 2? Because you're back in time and it's the different organization. I don't know. I don't really understand the whole thing, but I think there was like a plan for it, and I think they probably could have just ditched it.
Yeah, I mean, like, occasionally it gets kind of neat. Like, they'll be like, oh, you're learning you see the people in the modern world are like learning assassin tricks now because it's like bleeding into their minds, and you're like, that's kind of neat, I guess. But I think it'd probably be unnecessary.
Boy.
In general, I don't know. We're having fun with it.
good.
That's good.
But yeah, I don't know. It's not. I guess like Jen put it well. It's not the kind of thing that you like. Like right after playing Mario, it's just something with like pure, really, really good gameplay. It's not something that like you you can't put down.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Sure. Yeah, the comparison to specifically Nintendo first-person IP, where I don't know, those games are they grab you so fast. Whereas something more complex, I kind of have to convince myself to play pretty much all these Ubisoft titles that we're talking about. I have to like basically tell myself like, okay, I'm gonna play this today. It's not something where I can just pick up and be like, okay, this works for me. I need to put in like an hour, 2 hours. Whereas Mario, you pick it up, there's like no exposition. No, you got Princess. It's like a minute, and then you just start running around and jumping, and it's very, very intuitive and easy and fun.
And how does Nintendo know? Like, because I don't know what makes what makes gameplay like that just naturally fun. But Zelda and Mario, those are kinds of games that I just don't want to put down. I can pick them up at any time, or like at least Mario, like, or you could put it down, but at any time you like want to pick it back up and play more, just because it's like fun and joyful. And I certainly can't put my finger on what about those games makes them so good, but there are these other games that I'm playing that I'm like, this is good, like I'm definitely enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it for the story, but I'm like, everything's there on paper, but for some reason it's not.
It's probably just the way
not
they feel.
Just amazingly fun,
I think it's the intuition of the gameplay as well. Well, first of all, Keith, it's obvious. First, you take some cardboard. You fold it up into like a duck or something, and then you put the little remotes in there, and then you can be a duck.
Yeah. That's how I feel.
I think it has to do a little bit with intuition, and like how intuitive a game feels when you pick it up, and how easy it is to adopt. And also, Nintendo they have a name in gaming where like if you buy Nintendo first party IP, you know that it's probably going to be good, so they don't have an issue getting people to buy the games. But then so now people have the games, and if you make them very easy to pick up, you appeal to a very wide audience, and you just sort of follow. I don't want to say follow a formula. The formula is that they're intuitive. Again, even though like each Mario game has something fairly innovative to it, they're not inherently complex when you start playing them. They have complex mechanics, or they can, but they don't always. So like someone like me who I come home from work and I'm like, oh, I'm a gamer, but not really anymore, because I only play very specific things, and I get pretty irritated with specific mechanics these days. Whereas like, but I can pick up Mario or Breath of the Wild and just sit down with it for 4 hours after work and have a blast. I don't know. They just have it figured out.
And it's amazing. It's to the point where like sometimes you think like, oh yeah, I just don't get sucked into games like I used to, and then you find something and you're like, you'll find like one specific game and you're like, oh my god, like
yeah,
this is incredible.
Yeah, that honestly has kind of happened to me with these like Fortnite and Rainbow Six, because I haven't played a shooter in so long, and I was definitely at a point where I was just so sick of them. I couldn't play any, and then I got into those too. And damn, I had a match of Fortnite yesterday that I queued up doubles with some random, and he said I accidentally queued up for doubles, but I'll try to carry you. And we came in second place, and I was literally like shaking. I was so like nervous and pumped up from it. Oh my gosh,
that's cool.
It was wild. I haven't felt that in a while from a game. It was just I feel you there on that like reaffirmation of thinking that you don't like games for a while, and you're like, oh man, maybe okay, never mind.
You just got to find the right game,
Maybe there's just been a lull in the space,
Yeah, I think so.
There have been some great games the past couple years, though, so I don't know if it's like
there have been.
I think it's more like a change in my own lifestyle than anything else. I just don't feel motivated to pick up a game that is particularly complex. I don't know why. Yeah. I'm just exasperated, not exacerbated.
Yeah.
I feel exhausted when I pick up a game and there's like all these different mechanics. I don't know. Some people would love them, but I just can't. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, not again.
Well, I feel like there's like two ends of the spectrum. I feel like there these Nintendo games like Mario and Zelda, not exclusively Nintendo, that I can pick up, and they're just fun, like pure fun, or like pure like gameplay, and maybe it's exploration. Maybe that's what's doing it for me. Or I mean, even Minecraft, although Minecraft can get very complex in a certain way, in some ways. It's very simple in other ways, but that are just instantly fun. And there's other games like you really can get a crazy like strategic vibe from a game that just like gets you like you're 100% in it, focused, and you're like mentally thinking about strategy. Whether it's like friggin', I'm never like 100% like into Hearthstone, so that's not a good example, but something like we were with Dota, or with a really good shooter or something like that. And I feel like I occasionally get that with Overwatch, which is why I still play it.
Yeah.
And those games can have like seriously in StarCraft, right?
Yeah.
And those games have seriously intense mechanics, complex, huge skill ceiling, but they give you something back that makes you willing to invest the time to get good at them. And some of them don't even. Like, I mean, I think like Dota at first it doesn't give a lot back to newbies. Like that's hard to get into. Some games are hard to get into.
I learned a lot of
StarCraft,
Spanish.
you can at least play the single player. Yeah, he certainly did. A lot of Spanish that you couldn't speak in polite Spanish company, but yeah, I don't know. Anyway, some of them give you a lot back that like allow you to invest that amount of time and effort. And I'll feel that way with Dark Souls, which is crazy because it's not, usually you just get that feeling with competitive games, but something single player that's difficult enough that you're second guessing your every move. You're like checking every corner. You're, thinking about a boss, what their strengths and weaknesses are before you're going in and trying to read your environment.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I was saying I've become lazy when it comes to gaming, but you're right. It just going back to the original point, like you just have to find the right thing, I guess, because like XCOM is a great example where I talk about like I'm too lazy, I don't want to have to plan all this stuff out, but then I'll start XCOM. It's not every time, but every so often I'll like boot up XCOM and be like, I'm going to start a new thing. I'm really excited. I'm going to try these different combinations, and I will play it nonstop for a couple days. And it's awesome every time. I don't know. So some games just have it, I guess.
Jesus. Yeah, like XCOM on Iron Man, I think, would totally give you that kind of strategic high or whatever.
Yes. That's true. So you need that level of complexity so that the player will particularly feel accomplished if they can succeed with it.
Mm-hmm. And I get that a little bit from Divinity. But some of those games at the same time are the kinds of games where if you put them down, it's going to be really hard to pick them back up.
Yeah, definitely.
Add-on is up and running.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of other games like that where I started playing them and I just thought like this is going to be way too much effort. I tried The Witcher 2 a couple times. I just can't do it. I should try Witcher 3 though. I don't know. Is it any different?
It's certainly different than The Witcher 2, but Witcher 2 is good, but Witcher 3 is just, an incredible game. For the genre that it is, it's, like, probably the best executed game of that genre. Like, so, if you're looking for an RPG or something, the RPG mechanics, you got your skill points and things like that. It's not necessarily something that Geralt's going to be completely different than everybody else. Because at the end of the day, it's like Geralt or Ruby. But you got your decisions and you got your skill trees. It's analogous to a Mass Effect or something. But in terms of that genre of game and like the fantasy setting, it's the best one, like the best execution that you could find.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like I don't know if the gameplay is not going to grab you in that similar way, but the RPG mechanics might, like what you're working towards, and the story is really, really good. Characters' decisions, so like. Mass Effect style. If you're looking for something like that, that's what you get from Witcher, although in obviously a completely different setting.
They're heading towards us now.
Yeah, Mass Effect's definitely one of those where it's well, the original one was pretty complex, but the later ones were not so much. But either way, like the way that the decision tree works can be complex. So that's one that I got really invested in too. So I guess I don't know. I'm just hypocritical and arbitrary with my opinions.
But occasionally I'll get that like real like hunger for like an RPG or something like that.
Yeah.
And that can be a good one. I've been playing some Nier. I started that up near Automata, and I'm enjoying that. I mean, the combat, like the plug-in stuff, took a little while for me to really understand, and then once I did, I enjoyed that quite a bit. Like you would have on your computer or something, you have a certain amount of space, and they have to be like stored in specific blocks or something like that, so you can store plugins and upgrade them. So that was kind of fun. But I think the story's what's really good, and I'm just really been like sort of getting into the story stuff for the first time, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing more of that.
I've heard a lot of good things about Nier. That's on PC, isn't it? Because I was thinking about picking it up.
No, do you know,
it hasn't been updated, and it should have been. I guess it's like not good on PC or something. And they pretty much ignored it. So at least that's what I've heard. I don't know. I feel like it would be a big thing. I saw some thread on Reddit, like, oh, Nier hasn't been updated and whatever since its launch.
Anybody in chat who's played it on PC could vouch for it or back up that it's not great. Yeah. Let us know.
But
one J-Buck for anybody who gives us an opinion.
I am disrupting time now.
You get into Monster Hunter at all? Beyond
so
last time we talked was a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I know. I've kind of put it down. Mostly because the last time I played it, I fought a boss and I said, this seems really hard. And I died, and I was like, yeah, this is hard.
Yeah, I get that.
And I don't have Xbox Live Gold right now, so I don't have anybody to pull in and help me out. So I'm just kind of... it's on the back burner right now. I'm going to get to it. Don't you worry.
Honestly, that is like the worst part to put something down, because like you have to come, like when you pick it back up, you're like, okay, I just have to pick it up, and when I'm really like weak and off and out of practice, I just have to do something harder than I've ever done in the game. Cool.
Yeah, I've been like just working a ton lately and booting that game up for like an hour-long boss fight for a thing that I'll probably lose just is not the most appealing thing to me right now. Kind of want to just sleep. So
see, but that's what I feel. That's exactly what I was talking about earlier. There's like an urge to like specifically not play a game. I don't know.
Yeah, I know, it sucks. Maybe it's this whole adult bullshit we've all been doing.
I think it's more like I'm using brain power all day, and I get home, I'm like, what is the most lazy thing I could do?
Yeah.
It's like watching TV, sure. But if you want to play a game, it's got to be something that does not require a lot of thinking.
Oh, sure, classic Divinity 2. That's another game I want to get back to really badly, too.
I'm for sure gonna play Divinity 2 eventually. I'm just I'm gonna get through Nier and then maybe finish up Divinity 1 after that. I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of stuff on the back burner. I got that. Jen has Skyward Sword and Twilight Princess, neither of which I've ever played. I've got Wolfenstein: The New Colossus waiting for me, and that's supposed to be really good.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I remember like looking into Divinity 2, and it just looked really, really cool. All of the different characters, and that's one of those games like that really. I mean, I was talking about Witcher, but to the extent, the absolutely like extreme extent of like customization and RPG elements and stuff. Sometimes it sounds like the absolute last thing you want to do, and then sometimes you just get an itch for it. So I think I'll probably wait until that hits again, and I'll play the heck out of that game.
Do all the research in advance for hours, and then you're like, I'm ready to make a character.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's the best.
Pretty much.
I'd like to talk a bit about what I did last weekend. I've been streaming Warcraft 2, the original.
Weird.
Isn't
that game old?
Yes, it's very old. It's from 1994, I think.
Holy shit. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's.
Wow.
I mean, other than the original Warcraft and something like the original Command and Conquer or Dune, there was a Dune RTS, widely considered like the progenitors of real-time strategy. So I almost did it. I don't know. I got an urge. A lot of people have been asking me, "Hey, play Warcraft 2." So I kind of just felt like I gotta earn my real-time strategy chops, and just to kind of say that I've done it. And so I have done it, but it was also an interesting experiment on because we talk about nostalgia a lot and the effect that it has on how much you like games in the current age. And Warcraft 2 did grow on me. I expected to just hate it throughout. There are like glaring problems with it, but that's because it's old. You can attribute it to being old. But yeah, I didn't hate it by the end. I mean, there were some missions that were just so terrible, just based on the technology that was available, just really bad design decisions that I mean, these people were being innovative. They didn't really have anything to work off of, so that's my excuse. But I don't know. Again, it was kind of an interesting experiment. I'm like, everyone's like, how can you not like Warcraft 2? Are you crazy? Because I was just talking about how I'm like, yeah, this is nostalgia. This game really wasn't very good, even if I try to frame it in 1994. This is awful, and people were not happy with that. But by the end of it, I was like, yeah, this is fine. I get it. It's fine. I don't know. I'd like to give a few examples. So in 2000, Blizzard released the BattleNet edition. So Keith, you've played StarCraft 2, and Brett, you've dabbled. So if you're familiar with the concept of assigning control groups, being able to hotkey buildings, queuing up multiple units from one production structure, all these things not available in the original Warcraft 2. They added it with the BattleNet edition, but they just didn't exist. So you could only build one unit at a time from your production structures. I couldn't hotkey any buildings. I couldn't hotkey any units to cast spells. The concept of auto-attacking, meaning you click a button and then click somewhere on the map and your units would move in a direction and stop to attack anything along the way, didn't exist. So you had to individually attack everything along the way. I don't know. So just you can maybe imagine how much of a nightmare this was. But that's what I talk about, like nostalgia. Like you can kind of look past really terrible design things like that. I don't know. It was like fascinating. It was like a snapshot from 1994.
Yeah, and hey, so refresh my memory. I am not sure whether or not I played Warcraft 2. I kind of thought I did, but it's possible that I'm thinking of Warcraft 3 non-Frozen Throne campaign, but I don't think so. What was I think it was Warcraft 2 that had that resource collection mission where you're like in the forest and you have to get lumber.
Yeah, it's Warcraft 3.
That's Warcraft 3?
Yes.
That's not Warcraft 2?
That's not Warcraft 2.
With like, is it like Grom Hellscream? Is he involved in that mission?
No, he is. Yeah, but that's in Warcraft 3. That's definitely Warcraft 3.
Okay, never mind. I haven't played it then, I guess. There was a pretty big jump, I guess, between 2 and 3.
Yeah. Oh, well, StarCraft came in. The original StarCraft came in between. And if you played Warcraft 2, you would have definitely remembered the Flying Machine Man.
Jeez. Yeah. Okay.
Flying Machine. But yeah, again, it was like a blast from the past, and it's kind of funny too. There was an expansion called Beyond the Dark Portal, and from the day I started streaming it, people started asking me, "Are you going to play Beyond the Dark Portal? Are you going to play Beyond the Dark Portal?" By the way, it's really hard, and it's like way worse than all these missions. I was like, "Yeah, you're really selling it to me. Thanks." So I don't think I will be playing Beyond the Dark Portal because everybody said it's terrible.
Wait, say what Beyond the Dark Portal is again?
It was the expansion to Warcraft 2. Except they basically said all the missions are way more grueling and harder. So I just thought, like, why would I play this if you're telling me that it is bad? Like, not bad, but, like, more grueling. I don't know. It's just, like, interesting to hear people try to convince me to play it. Like, we're really excited for you to play this, by the way. It's not fun.
We want to see you suffer, Jay.
I guess, yeah.
Sadistic.
Oh, my goodness.
Sounds fun.
It actually, I mean, it was. It was. It was interesting. That's all I can say about it.
You piqued my interest in Warcraft 3 a little bit. You know, maybe one day.
I think. Well, you didn't really care for StarCraft, but Warcraft 3 is immensely different. I think you would. I think you would like it.
Yeah, I probably would.
So, did you guys hear that? Blizzard was basically inviting a bunch of, I don't know if it was specifically, yeah, it was like streamers. I don't know if it was specifically like, I was about to say Warcraft pros, but I'm like, those don't exist, right?
They do. There's still, yeah.
Like WoW.
They invited a
WoW
ton of them to
combat
some
friends.
event or something like that, and they're really hush-hush about it. And apparently they did the same thing before they announced StarCraft HD.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people were anticipating that it was sort of the same deal, which I frankly would not be surprised by. Whatever. I mean, like some people were holding out hope for like Warcraft 4, and I'm like, they're not going to do that. Like they're not going to release another Well, I mean, they're updating StarCraft, but like they're using World of Warcraft, which is still going strong, to push forward the narrative there. Like they could do it, but they're not gonna, you know. But hey, I'd be really happy to be proved wrong. I would be really happy because I would love that. I would love a Warcraft 4.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would. I wonder again if it's just because of WoW. Like they're not gonna. It's kind of weird because like the story shouldn't be what stops them from doing it. Because that's what it would be like. Oh, well, WoW's got a story. We can't interrupt that. But like, what a stupid reason to cut yourself off from a huge source of income, right? Like you'd think they'd find some way around it to make Warcraft 4, even though there's WoW.
Some people were concerned about like a Warcraft mobile kind of thing. No one seemed to like that idea. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
like,
called
I would
Hearthstone.
like better mobile games, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it was specifically Warcraft 3 pro players, former Warcraft 3 pro players. So I mean, it's got to be something. Like, there's no reason to invite a ton of Warcraft 3. Like, if it was like StarCraft, if they're inviting StarCraft pro players, it could be anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean there's like an announcement, but like, there's literally no reason to invite a bunch of Warcraft 3 pro players somewhere.
Right.
They're coming out with something, and their history there, I mean, just I think really indicates probably HD version, remastered rather. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I wonder what that would mean because like the game is already available in HD.
It is.
Yeah,
So
they've patched it
remastered.
to. Yeah, I mean, but like new textures, things like that. Like hugely updated visuals would be a big draw for sure.
I would consider doing that because I don't know. It's been a long time since I played back through Warcraft 3 and Frozen Throne.
Yeah, I mean the custom game scene is still alive, and
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's actually fascinating. I mean, Warcraft 3 has a really tightly knit community. Actually, I can use this. I kind of want to transition into a different topic, sort of, but it's related. But Warcraft 3 has a really tight-knit community from a lot of different sites. And as usual with, like, weird, niche, small places, like small games and stuff like that, there's weird drama, and it kind of fragmented. But somehow, Warcraft 3 has a pretty big community still. They're very active. They share content.
Nice.
It's awesome for a game made in 2003, I want to say.
Yeah, that's insanity. Like, the games I was into in 2003 are vaporized.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well, the thing is, there's some drama going on now in the StarCraft 2 community on the subreddit, where basically a lot of content creators have been coming out and saying, like, hey, by the way, like, this community has been not great at supporting content that is being made for it. Like, people watch it, clearly there's a following, but people don't share it like they do in other gaming communities and genres. And this is a problem for us because it's really not motivating at all to keep making stuff because it feels like nobody cares. But we know they do because we can see people are watching it. So as a content creator for StarCraft, I understand that. I don't really care because I don't rely on this for income. But it's absolutely true because I make stuff for Warcraft 3 as well, and that community is super excited about everything all the time. And the people who watch the StarCraft stuff do not give a shit about anything. They're clearly watching it, but they never really talk about it or share it very much. I don't know. It's an interesting phenomenon. So everyone on the subreddit, like some people sort of turned around and were like, oh, wow, this is a good point. And then there's, of course, that group of people that was like, oh, you're just entitled. Why do you expect people should watch your stuff? And so like, no, you're missing the point. Especially mine, which is like, I make stuff for multiple games, so I can see the difference between the communities. And I don't know. It's just like, it's like a really interesting thing unfolding before my eyes as I watch people complaining about this. So I just wanted to share that. I don't know. It's like really interesting, especially in the face of Warcraft 3, which has a really cohesive, strong community around it, and StarCraft 2 has very disparate groups that seem to be shrinking.
I don't know what I don't know what the deal is. I mean, maybe it's I guess like Warcraft 3, nothing's come out of for it, so like people have to be unified behind the only thing that exists.
Yeah,
that's kind of my thinking, especially because like doesn't StarCraft 2 have like a platform for the mods that can you look for stuff like in game, extra content, or is that not? You know what I'm saying? Like, is there an in-game browser for mods, or do you have to mod it yourself, or like custom?
Oh, in for StarCraft 2, there's a there's a thing. There's a like the arcade.
See, I bet like just the added effort that it takes with Warcraft 3 makes it so that people are like, wow, I did all this work. You know, I don't know if that makes sense.
I'm really not sure. Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint why it's happening. Yeah, I see Templar Freak talking about he has notifications that push out my content. I appreciate that. I just want to be clear. Like, I'm not complaining for my sake. I'm just pointing out this is an interesting thing that's been brought up a lot recently on the subreddit, and it definitely is. Like, it's not like a personal thing for anyone in particular. It's just kind of a fascinating thing that's been happening in the community that, I don't know, again, it's just been like really interesting to see people complaining about this now. The game, like Legacy of the Void, came out in 2015. It's been 3 years. So, I don't know, people complaining about it now. It's just been weird.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
I just wanted to share that because I found it particularly intriguing recently.
I agree. I mean, you know, it's interesting, and it's difficult to predict what the major differences will be, but like the kind of communities that, like, you know, if they're all centered around one thing that they all love that came out a long time ago, then like there's, you know, it doesn't change, so there's no way for it to be like ruined in any of their opinions. So like they're not going to disagree. Nostalgia lasts forever, but like if they keep putting out new content, then, you know, it might be divisive in one way or another.
Yeah.
But it is kind of interesting, like an interesting study, because they're very similar games, obviously, like same developer, so they attract the same kind of certainly the same kind of people. So it is interesting.
But something about the way that the community's formed. I mean, obviously StarCraft 2 came out later, so I feel like Warcraft 3 has vestiges and a nostalgia factor, where StarCraft 2 started coming out in the age of just a totally different market. Whereas like Warcraft 3, back when like use map settings custom games are really popular, Dota 2 tried that. They remade StarCraft into StarCraft Remastered and tried that, and it just was not nearly the same kind of hit, probably because the market has completely changed. Which I think is, I don't know, it's an intriguing topic, and I wonder if it's that's the only thing I could think of, to be honest. I have no idea what would otherwise cause that. I know. Anyway, that's what I've been doing this week, but it's frustrating to see on the subreddit people are like, oh, you guys are just entitled, and it's like, we're not saying you have to share it. Especially me. I like I was saying, like I have no skin in this game, realistically. It's more that if you want more, you have to find some way to motivate the people that are making these things, or make stuff yourself, even better.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally get that. I'd like to see, you know, a little more appreciation.
Mm-hmm. It's just weird, like this week it all started coming to a head, and I am not 100% clear on why.
It's weird when stuff like that comes out of the blue for like pretty, you know, old games by modern standards.
Yeah.
Or games that, I mean, have been like at least somewhat.
They gotta understand that
steady.
Word of mouth keeps these things alive.
That's true. Yeah, that's absolutely true.
What else is the reason to create these mods other than like, you know, gratification of creating something that people like?
That people will play.
Gotta let them know, like, they're not receiving anything else for that. So let them know. Spread the word.
Mm-hmm.
I saw
StarCraft.
I saw a piece of news that was like Burnout Paradise was being remastered.
Oh yeah.
Which like, I'm always divided, because like if there's any game that I'm like that is like actually beloved to me, like that game, like, I don't know. Like, generally, I'll have sunk so much time into it that I won't necessarily want to play it again. And I feel like a little bit like that.
Like Skyrim?
I would really just, yeah, I'd really just prefer if you just came out with a new one. Like, everybody's been like begging for that for a long time, for like a new Burnout Paradise, or for them to make their modern games instead of, you know, more like Need for Speed Most Wanted or something like that, make it more like Burnout Paradise. And so, like, I don't know how I feel about a remastered version. I guess it's there. I guess it shows some interest, so it's possible that could lead to something new. But it could also mean that, yeah, we heard you, we considered it, and we decided to make this instead of what you wanted. This is the amount of effort that we're willing to put in, and that's it. Enjoy. But it's still something.
Mm-hmm.
There's some Overwatch, like, you know, balance changes and stuff, which is, you know, obviously that's only like going to appeal to people who are like play Overwatch regularly, but some interesting stuff. Like, we're in like the aftermath of the Mercy nerf, and it's funny, like, you heard people complain so much, like, it seems so dramatic, like the nerfs, and she still has a win rate higher than most other heroes, so it didn't even knock her like below 50%.
Of course.
I mean, she's probably in the top third. She's like highest pick in the pro scene, and her pick rate is still the top pick rate, I think, or at least like top 3 or something. So it's just funny, like, to hear people talking about it, like, oh, this will kill her or something. She's still better than half of the heroes. Anyway, so that's funny.
It's bizarre that people would continue to complain about.
I know. They were like making, and then on top of that, they're like adding some other changes to some heroes. They're like, Sombra's like lowest win rate right now. She's like the stealthy kind of hero, and she, you know, hacks health packs and can turn invisible and teleport back to some spot. And so they're doing some interesting stuff with her, like just making her, like, now any hero who's under 100% health, she can see them through walls. Pretty crazy.
That's cool.
She's got an ability right now that's similar, but it's only if they're at low health. Now she will just have like an interesting like map awareness that's pretty unusual at all times. That's kind of neat. It'll be interesting to see. Before, she used it to like take out like low health targets, and now she might not be able to do that as much, but if she communicates with her team, she might be more useful. Mm-hmm. And then they announced some changes to Hanzo, which I care like most about. Well, at least they're experimenting with them, and we're expecting to see them on the PTR soon. People complained about Scatter Arrow for a long time, and because it can do like such kind of burst damage, but at the same time, he's like one of the lowest win rate heroes, so like they didn't want to get rid of it. So you can tell like the development team has been looking at it for a long time, and basically what they have now is like, you know, people discussed it and had all sorts of ideas, and people were saying like, well, like it's either going to have to be replaced with like an ability that's better, so that he's balanced in the proper direction. But if people are complaining about this ability because it's apparently overpowered, even though it's on an underpowered hero, then they're going to complain about an ability that's better. So you could replace it with multiple slightly less good abilities. And it seems like the direction they're going to try to go. They're going to try to give him like a dodge, sort of like a directional horizontal jump, like a leap. And they're going to give him a, well, at least this is what they're currently talking about. It could be subject to change, but like a volley kind of ability that allows you to shoot fully or almost fully powered arrows, like a bunch of them in quick succession. Like you could shoot out 5 arrows or something in really quick succession. And I think that's interesting, and I don't know what to make of it, but yeah, I hope it doesn't nerf him. I hope it doesn't. It sounds like it'll increase his skill ceiling, which is what I really wanted. You know, I mean, he has a high skill ceiling, but I didn't want them to make him just easier. I thought that'd be like a cheap way of balancing him. Mm-hmm. So that could be cool. You know, it's something I don't know what to make of it. So I think it sounds like it'll at least raise his skill ceiling, and hopefully it'll balance him in the proper direction. But that information about that kind of stuff's been coming out. And
maybe this is your chance to kind of level with the Mercy people, Maybe they're going to make him extremely good, and then when they try to nerf him back, you're going to be like, no, Halu's my favorite character. How dare you consider making him worse than he was before?
I can empathize with those people. It's just, you know, you also have to be like, yeah, I get that it's your main character, but she's better than all the characters by a huge margin. She's picked more than the other characters by a huge margin. If she was nerfed to the point where she was worse than half the heroes, it would be fine. Like, that'd be the end of the world to you, and it'd be fine, logically. Like, she's dominated the pro scene for 6 months.
Make every minute count.
But anyway, so that's still going on. I mean, they got like the Year of the Dog, like Chinese New Year event going on, and added some new new skins and things like that to the general pool. So it's your basic stuff, but we've still been putting in some time there.
Cool. I really have to pick up another multiplayer game. Like, I'm getting sick of a lot of the stuff that I record. Not to the point where I don't want to play it, but the reason that I'm okay with it is because I'm specifically playing things that keep it fresh. But I need something else. And for a while I thought Heroes of the Storm would be it, but I don't know. I just cannot bring myself to play that game as consistently as I expected I would. Every time I play it, I'm like, I could play this all the time. It's got a lot of longevity to it, and then I just don't follow through.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one thing is that I haven't once played that game. No, that's not true. I played with Greymane once by myself. I was going to say I've never played it by myself, like solo queued. But I guess I did that exactly one time because I kind of wanted to fuck around with Greymane while I was on the podcast.
Yeah.
But beyond that, I haven't, and I don't know. Maybe I would still have fun if I played it by myself. But you know, I like the coordination part of it. It feels like a good middle ground for like some of the stuff that I liked about Dota. You know, it's a game you can play with your friends. You can coordinate, strategize, like make kind of snap decisions that can affect the game in one way or another. But it's not as much of a thing as Dota is. You know, it's
right.
You're like, oh, we lost. Who cares?
Yeah. It only took 10 minutes. That's not bad.
That's all right.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference.
Ganked. That doesn't really matter.
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't really change the odds that much, and if it did, then that also doesn't matter because the games don't take that long.
Yeah. See, every time we talk about it almost every week now, and I'm like, why am I not playing it? I wish I could explain it. I need somebody who works for a gaming blog to succinctly identify what I'm thinking about the game so that I don't have to do it.
Yeah, I've been really like hungering for like a you know, more strategic game, or like, and I've been just like thinking a lot about like what I think like the perfect game would be, or like what I want from a game, or like an online game. I don't know. Let's have to branch out a little bit and look at some of these other things, but I also feel like your standards get so high that you're like not even willing to give anything else a chance. You just play it and you're like, oh great, it's another shooter, or like something like that.
That's true. Yeah, I try to, like, especially when I'm playing new games, I try to lower my standards a little bit, only because I know that as I'm playing it, it's not really reflective of what my ultimate feeling of the game is going to be in the long run, I suppose.
Yeah, in my head, I just have to, well, I'm going to just get my ass kicked for the first several times to play this, so.
Yeah, it's like, have I made it over the hump yet?
Yeah, have I made it? Is this supposed to be fun yet? Okay.
Yeah. It's true, though.
I played a couple things in, like, Fortnite, like, I just hopped right in, and you can just hop right in, but, like, I just got, you know, I think, like, killed in 3 straight games without getting any kills. And that's sort of how I feel about it, is, like, obviously you're not going to win, but I'm like, I gotta get, like, you gotta at least get some kills or something.
Yeah.
I don't really know about the guns, and like I'm seeing, like Brett was talking about, I've seen people running around and like building stairs in front of them as they walk, like fucking Iceman from the X-Men, and like killing me. And I'm like, what? God damn it! Spent like 3 minutes walking only for this person to like create some kind of crazy structure and then kill me. You don't know the weapons yet, so I mean all that stuff you learn it over time. You want the game wouldn't be fun if it didn't have depth. So you
That's
gotta
true.
expect
Yeah,
that
that's
to a certain extent.
kind of like what we were talking about earlier. Like I struggle to get into games, but then in retrospect, like some of the most complicated games provide the most payoff, specifically because they are complicated. Sage words.
Sage words.
Well, it's been about an hour, and I think Brett had to mysteriously step away. Let me tell you, he's going to get scolded later.
He's taking a big dingle.
You don't walk out on JayborinoPlays, okay? This is a lesson you'll all learn. I know when you guys don't watch my videos. I get reports on all of that. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching. This has been the Damage Per Second podcast. We'll see you next week at... Oh, Brett is back!
Brett!
Sorry, did I
Last
miss
minute,
anything?
slipping it in there.
You missed everything, Brett.
I'm
God.
detecting an enemy attack. They're heading towards us now.
Sorry.
We were just wrapping up. Is that okay? Can we wrap up, or did you want to weigh in? What
Please.
we were just talking
Please.
about Overwatch.
Brett,
Please.
leave us
Let's wrap
with
her up.
some words of wisdom, Brett.
Don't forget about your friends.
That was last time. Thanks everyone for watching. It's the Damage Per Second signing out. Join us next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Tuesday on YouTube Gaming or whatever their streaming service is called now. Bye bye.